The fertile state of Punjab led the Green Revolution that helped India overcome chronic food shortages and emerge a food-secure nation. Over the years, the subsidies and incentives offered by the government to increase food grain production led Punjab's farmers to grow more rice and wheat instead of crops better suited to local agroclimatic conditions. While the rise in agricultural productivity brought prosperity to Punjab, it also had unintended consequences for the state's groundwater resources, its electricity sector, and its finances.
I would say that the current groundwater problems are a consequence of the great success of the agricultural revolution which happened in the state way back in the late 60s. Paddy and rice were introduced to Punjab. It is not a traditional crop here. Paddy is a water-intensive crop. It needs a lot of water. So it is right from the late 70s or early 80s that we have seen more extraction of groundwater in the state since agriculture gets free electricity for pumping out groundwater. Something needs to be done to give incentives to farmers to use this subsidy for doing the right thing, which is to save water.
The availability of free, largely unmetered electricity for irrigation has led most farmers to drill tube wells to irrigate their crops with groundwater. With unmetered power supply and close to 14 lakh tube wells pumping out groundwater, electricity consumption per hectare has gone up 4 times. The water tables are plunging drastically. Every year, Punjab consumes 30% more water than is available from its rivers and aquifers. The land of the 5 rivers is today on the brink of a severe water crisis.
Annually, the decline of groundwater is about 70 centimeters per annum. But in certain areas of central Punjab, it is touching somewhere around 1 meter per annum. So there is a depletion of 1 meter per annum.
70-year-old Nirvail Singh has ploughed these fields for as long as he can remember.
ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 30-40 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 15 ਤੋਂ 20 ਫੁੱਟ ਤੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਚਲਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਇਹ ਆ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ 10 ਫੁੱਟ ਥੱਲੇ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ 10 ਫੁੱਟ ਥੱਲੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ 140 ਫੁੱਟ ਤੋਂ ਪਾਣੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੁੱਕ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ
If we continue as it is now and as per the estimates by Central Groundwater Commission, tubewell will go dry in next 20 years or so. And then what will do?
Since electricity for tube wells is usually supplied at night, when demand from industries and households is low, farmers often leave their pumps on all night as they have no incentive to save electricity.
ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੋਟਰ ਚਲਾ ਕੇ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਆ ਗਏ ਉਹ ਫੇਕ ਨੱਕੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਫਸਲ ਵੀ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਪਾਣੀ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ
Supplying free power for agriculture also places a huge financial burden on the state. Today, more than 1/3 of Punjab's fiscal deficit comes from the power subsidy for agriculture. To help solve the interlinked problems of depleting groundwater, high power consumption, and rising subsidies, the Punjab government launched the Paani Bachao, Paise Kamao scheme.
These 3 interlinked issues had to be solved without changing the policy of free power or the cropping patterns. This innovative and very farmer-focused scheme seeks to do just that.
This learning by doing pilot was designed with World Bank support after widespread consultations with farmers and other stakeholders. Under the pilot scheme, a farmer is allocated a fixed amount of free but metered daytime electricity. A smart meter on the farmer's pump set measures the amount of electricity used. If a farmer uses less electricity than their fixed allocation, they receive a cash transfer into their bank account. Excess consumption is not charged.
अगर हम इसमें जैसे 1500 यूनिट्स मिलती हैं अगर इसमें से किसान थोड़ी बचत करे, जैसे कि 1200 या 1000 यूनिटें खपत होती हैं, तो बाकी जो बची हुई हैं वो 4 रुपये के हिसाब से हमारे बैंक अकाउंट में ट्रांसफ़र हो जाएंगे, और जिससे कि किसान अपने घर का गुजारा चला सकता है, बच्चों की स्टडी में लगा सकता है।
अगर उस तो कोई ज़्यादा भी फूक लेने तो सानू को ਉਹਦਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਲੌਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ।
See, the robust metering and electricity accounting at the feeder level, it is critical to protect the financial integrity of the scheme and also ensure that there is no misuse of electricity.
The daytime supply of electricity provided under the pilot scheme allows farmers to turn on their tube wells only when they need to do so, enabling them to use only as much water as is needed.
जब से बिजली दिन में आ रही है जी, अब हमें बहुत आसानी है, बिजली की खपत भी कम है और पानी की खपत भी कम है।
The scheme also introduced a simple remote control device for pump sets, which can be operated through a mobile phone app. Farmers can now irrigate their fields from wherever they are. They can also operate the tube wells from their homes at night.
ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਘਰ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਚਲਾ ਲੈਣਾ ਮੋਟਰ, ਘਰੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੀ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਤਾ।
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਤੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਵੀ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ 1 ਘੰਟੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ।
Thanks to the Paani Bachao Paise Kamao scheme, farmers can now use just the amount of water they need, saving both precious groundwater and electricity.
ਸਕੀਮ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਗਰੀਬਾਂ ਲਈ, बड़े लोग ही तो कोई फर्क नहीं, पर मैनू बहुत फायदा आ। 8-9 हज़ार भी बड़ा आ, सीधी जी गल है, अपने घर बैठे
लगातार 22-23 हज़ार रुपया मिल गया है।
It will be around 1,10,000. I've got 3 motors in this scheme.
At first, it wasn't easy to convince farmers to join the scheme.
मीटर लग गया, आने वाले 2 साल सानू पैसे दे देंगे, 4 साल दे देंगे, उस तो बाद किते खाना धक्का ना हो जाए भी सानू बिल मुड़ के तरह देण दी बजाय लैण दी बजाय जिद्दां कहंदे हुंदे उल्टा देणे पै जाण।
Given the current ground situation of overexploitation of water, etc., there is a need to change that behavior and change that behavior at the level of the individual farmer.
Apart from village-level meetings and information material provided to the community, a dedicated team visited each farmer to explain the scheme and respond to their concerns.
ਕਿ ਕੰਜ਼ਿਊਮਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੱਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸਮਝਾਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ, ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਸਕੀਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ। ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਸਕੀਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਕੀਮ 'ਚੋਂ ਵਿਡਰਾ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ। ਜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੰਜ਼ੰਪਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਰਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ।
Gradually, the word spread, and farmers began to sign up. The scheme has demonstrated savings in water and electricity. It has the potential to reduce power consumed for irrigation and free up resources for other areas for development. In the pilot areas, the government has also helped some farmers set up small demonstration farms to implement water-efficient farm practices and try growing new short-duration varieties of rice that require less water. Other farmers are learning from their experiences.
यहाँ पे वो डेमो किया हुआ है शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन वाली फसल का, तो इसमें क्या होता है कि ये फसल जो है पकने में 20 से 25 दिन पहले ही पक जाती है, जिससे कि हमारा वाटर भी सेव होता है, लाइट भी सेव होती है और ये काफ़ी अच्छी फसल भी है।
ਸਪਰੇਆਂ ਸਪਰੂਆਂ ਪੈਟੀਸਾਈਡ ਇਹਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਗਿਆਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਕੀਮਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜ ਕੇ। ਚਲੋ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਆਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਆਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਤੇ ਕੁਝ WhatsApp ਤੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ।
Farmers on these demo farms have saved up to 30% water and electricity, even as their wheat and rice yields have remained the same or been marginally higher.
This learning by doing pilot showed us that farmers were willing to reduce groundwater extraction if their incomes could be protected. We saw that by incentivizing farmers to do changes in their electricity consumption behavior, sometimes by as simple an action as just switching off the pump set when it was not needed, they were able to save water and electricity while continuing to grow wheat and rice.
Seeing the benefits of the pilot, the Punjab government has since scaled up the scheme to cover 250 more feeders in 11 water-stressed districts.
Definitely, after the pilot project, people have a faith and they were convinced that it is in their beneficial and this is a win-win situation.
I believe what Punjab has done with the support of many professionals and experts is truly innovative. It's truly new. This issue per se is not unique to the state. It cuts across to other state governments. I think it also cuts across national boundaries. And so this way of approaching the problem and approaching an issue, especially an issue as serious as water conservation, addressing an issue of sustainable livelihoods.
We see a potential for a scheme like Paani, Bachao, Paise, Kamao being combined with the Kusum solar irrigation program to help conserve groundwater while increasing the use of green electricity for agriculture.
The Paani Bachao Paise Kamao scheme has proved to be a win-win for both the farmers and for the state of Punjab. Other states can potentially replicate this experience either as a standalone initiative or in combination with solar irrigation programs.